Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm putting my phone back in my pocket, and I am a keynote motivational speaker. What up? It is when you're listening to this, not sure what it is, but it is Friday afternoon for us.
Yes.
Alan and I have had a long week, but we are excited to be here, and you are on Hustling Sideways.
Yes. And this is episode 91 of the Hustling Sideways podcast.
We are closer and closer.
Jim, I am feeling good though today. We just went to a Marquette game.
We did.
Separately.
Yes.
You were entertaining a client in the skybox, in a luxury box.
I lied. I just got the skybox and didn't have any clients. I was just hanging.
Could have sent me the invite.
I wish, dude. I wish I could just share.
Anyway,
I walked up and there were supposed to be clients and there weren't, but the tickets were claimed. It was just bizarre.
Is that for real? You just had the luxury box to yourself?
There was 5 other people, but they were all like employees.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, moral of the story is yes, I was above Alan.
I was down in the lower peasants,
and I was wearing my king crown, and I was up top in a suite, and that's how I roll. I don't sit with peasants anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I should not invite you if I find a suite tomorrow.
Yeah. I just won't go. That's
okay. Well, anyway, at the time that we write this, Marquette is closing in on the top 10 in the NCAA rankings.
Pretty fired up about it.
And as somebody that also just recently came back from Vegas and put a little future on Marquette to win the national title,
I talked Alan into it, and that $20 is going to pay your mortgage. It's going to be fantastic.
It literally would be.
Yeah, I know. I looked at the winnings. I saw them. It's going to be great.
So I'm in a good mood, but I'm also in a good mood because we've got another great guest here on Hustling Sideways.
So oftentimes, we tap into our network, we tap into people on Podmatch, which is Tinder for podcasts, and then sometimes we have family friends who happen to have side jobs that they really enjoy. So our next guest is that type of person. His name is Kevin Cronin. He's an operations manager for a company that he said, and I forgot already. And he's going to talk about that. But he's also a bouncer and a bartender at a little place we like to call Riley's Daughter on the south side of Chicago, which is one of my shining places whenever I go home.
Oh, okay.
And it is like the Love and McKeever family spot, which is my both my family. So when I go there, I feel like I have keys to a kingdom.
Okay.
Because inevitably I know someone behind the bar. I know the bouncer.
It's where everybody knows your name.
And there's some tab open somewhere that I could just be like, sure, that's the one I'm on. So it's wonderful. That's a little spoiler alert. But moral of the story is we have Kevin Cronin, who goes by Big Kev, affectionately is known. And so, Kevin, welcome to Hustling Sideways.
Welcome to Hustling Sideways.
Jim, Alan, thanks for the kind introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, first of all, rocking the mustache, rocking a Bears hat. We're ready to roll, man. This is as Chicago as it gets, and I appreciate that.
I should have had these instead of drinking high noon. We should have been having like PBRs.
Yeah, that's actually more Wisconsin than it is Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, people in Chicago are like, what? Like some people are like literally like, what's PBR?
Okay, the great equalizer, Malort.
Malort.
But it's a little. We're not. This show would go off the rails if we drank Malort.
Thinking of that, but yeah. So, Kev, are you a Malort guy? Not so much. So Kev, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, kind of where you grew up, and what you're doing now, and walk us through all the things.
Sure. So I guess, like you said, my name's Kevin Cronin. Do go by Big Kev. 27 years old. I grew up. I live on the south side of Chicago currently. Grew up on the south side of Chicago. Went to St. Cajetan Grammar School and St. Rita High School, and kind of grew up. My dad was a bartender for 10 years when I was growing up. So pretty much kind of grew up every Sunday, going up to his work to watch the Bears game while he was bartending. And when he was bartending, my mom was also waitressing up there. So that's kind of, how their relationship kind of grew and fostered as, they were young adults and kind of grew into that adulthood. So it was kind of, when I was growing up, just kind of indoctrinated, that was, everyone kind of had the main job, and then you had your job at the bar that you went and worked at, to kind of pick up the extra cash on the weekends.
That's awesome. Yes. And I do want to point out 2 things you said in your intro. So first of all, everyone in Chicago introduces themselves by the grammar school and high school that they went to.
Okay.
That's how we identify there. That's a very different thing, Kev, for people here in Wisconsin. It's like when I say I'm from, I say with the parish I'm from, and you said grammar school. That's another thing that Chicagoans say versus grade school or like elementary school.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a lot more at home. School. Yeah. And it's interesting when I got to college. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, where'd you go to grammar school? They're like, what the hell? I don't know what you mean by that. Like, sure. I learned grammar, but totally. Where'd I go? And yeah, that's just another perk of being from the south side of Chicago is we talk differently.
I do remember that a lot of kids at Marquette would tell you like what high school they went to.
Yeah.
And there was like 3 that everybody went to.
It's like big private schools. That's the, which and Kev went to one of them, which is St. Rita. I went to St. Lawrence, which was
Were
not
you
as
guys
good as
rivals? Wait, were you guys high school
we
rivals?
were not high school rivals. St. Rita
Yeah,
would win a lot of things against St. Lawrence, I would say. Unfortunately, that's the
Okay,
reality.
but you were in like the same conference.
Gosh, Kev, were we? I don't even know if Lawrence and Rita are in the
I
same
would say I
conference.
think that probably at one point we were in the same conference, but between like St. Lawrence going from all boys to kind of moving to co-ed within the last
Oh
couple of
yeah.
years, I feel like it's
Mhm.
changed depending on the attendance. But I'd say when they were both all boys, it wasn't not necessarily rivals, just kind of it was two different all boys schools and just two
Yeah.
different neighborhoods. So
Well, my brother-in-law went to Rita, so we are rivals, and
Okay, I was gonna
screw
say
them. Yeah,
trying to do what all podcast hosts should
of
do, and that
course.
is pit the host against the guest
Yeah,
at
we
something.
really just want to hate each other.
Yeah,
That's our
that's
role here. That's too funny. And by the way, the whole cousin group is going to listen to the show and shout out. We call it Kev. Actually, our group text of which 17 of the people of the 20 of that text, we call it the overdone close family text. And the reason why is because when John Seabach was on here, he called our family overdone close family, and that was now the new name of the text. So if you see them out, Kev, around Thanksgiving here coming up in Christmas, ask for the phone and watch what that group text is called, because that is
sounds
inspired
good.
by Hustling Sideways. I want to throw it out there. We are the reason that group text
But hang
has
on,
changed
you
names.
said a 20-person group text?
Roughly. And not all of them are cousins or family friends, a couple of them, but that is like our big group. So whenever
I
people
would
are out and
I
about,
would immediately mute that group
well,
text.
you and I do too. But I look
Okay.
at it every now and then. I look at it, see what's
Okay.
going on.
That's
Hard to
too many.
ignore the action going on in there.
Yeah, there's also a Snapchat group. That one gets wild. But anyway, Kev, let's focus on the operations manager part of your life. So talk to us a little bit about what that took in your role, and what how you got to do that role.
Sure. So yeah, when I was in college, originally went to college at Western Illinois University for the an accounting program. Kind of thought that was going to be my path out of college. Have to get my master's and then go take my CPA from there. But in college, kind of just ended up switching over to the logistics side of things rather than the accounting side of things, which allowed me to leave school a year less early than I would have been if I stayed stuck with accounting. And honestly, kind of just fell into it senior year at a career fair. Just fell into it the company that I work with, JB Hunt, which is a our nationwide trucking company. So I ended up applying with them back in November of my senior year, and luckily I had a job offer from them. I would say by December of my senior year. So
Mhm.
luckily I think by Christmas I'd accepted my job offer with them, and kind of got to have my second semester, less
Yeah,
stressful because
the
I was
greatest 4 months of your life.
already had my job in place, just kind of it didn't couldn't mess up and had to graduate.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I was so envious of my like business students that had like a job offer by that time, and just
Oh,
like
for sure.
second semester senior year just meant
It's
literally
just
nothing.
it's so
I didn't
so so much less stressful. Don't have to
Yeah,
worry
it's
as much.
amazing.
I didn't have my first job lined up until the end of summer, like the September after we had graduated.
Oh,
And
sure.
so I went back to my old
I
internship
remember
where
that.
we worked at
Yeah,
Catholic
yeah.
Financial for
Mhm.
like 3 months and for the whole summer. And then like
That's right.
they were kind of like by the end of summer, like if you don't got
You
something,
gotta go, man.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Alex just like walking around sheepishly with his head down and his tail between
I
his
was
legs,
very
hoping that no
close
one
to being
noticed.
unemployed right out of college, and
Yeah,
that would have been a morale crusher.
that
Let me
wouldn't have
tell you.
wouldn't have
And
gone.
it's
Yeah.
definitely a very scary feeling.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. But that's sweet. So you've been doing that for years. And so obviously you grew up with having sort of this bar background and being around it, and did you pick up on so so before you started at Riley's, did you have an idea of what it took to be successful like within this bar industry, and like maybe took some notes from your dad or some folks you saw, and maybe things that you saw that wouldn't work, within that? What was some of your experiences that were like, I can actually do that? Because I think a lot of people like are like, I would be a great bartender. It's a hard job, like, and doing like
Oh
it's
yeah.
not an easy thing to do when people are
Yeah.
yelling at your face and
I
snapping and all this
selfishly,
stuff. Like,
there are times that I think about it, and then I immediately think I'd be a
I
terrible
would be
bartender.
horrible. I'd be
I'd be
really really
awful.
bad, really really
Yes.
bad. But what was it like for you, Kev? Like getting all that experience beforehand.
I would say, luckily, since I've started when I started working when I was 16, and I luckily have always had jobs where I've always had customer service has always been a very high point of emphasis. My
Mhm.
first job being I worked as a lifeguard at a country club for 5 years,
Ah,
and after working there for 5 years and kind of dealing with some more than wealthy, country club moms, dealing with them for 5 years, watching their kids for 5 years, and kind of, learning to how to build those strong customer service skills to where, kind of know what to say to them, what not to say to them, what's going to make them upset. And, you just learn those like soft skills that, everyone talks about, of just the small talk aspect of a work
Yeah.
where, any person that walks in, you can kind of just pick up a conversation with them at ease, just depending on, whether or not you want to just talk to them about a sports game that's going on, pay them a compliment on, something that they might be wearing, or something they might be talking about themselves with, like, them friends. But I would say just, having the soft skills of being able to talk, walk up to anyone and talk to someone, and also to have the patience, and the customer service skills to, be aware that, there might be 5 or 6 people that are going to be yelling in your face, that you want to drink, but, being able to build that relationship with them, and over time, and, hopefully it's not their first time in the bar. Hopefully you've seen them in there once or twice, so they at least know that if you're at least a little bit busy and, you're not getting to them right away, at least I might be able to walk by and crack a quick joke and say, hopefully put a smile on your face while you're waiting for your drink, and then maybe a minute later I can come back and grab you. And hopefully, they understand by the relationship that we've established over time that, I'm eventually going to get to them. It just might be a little bit time before I actually do make it over there.
Yeah,
sure.
the soft skills, I don't think people realize like how that impacts every industry. I mean, if you think about like the bars or restaurants you've gone to had like an amazing server, like you want to go back there,
Right. Oh,
and that's
totally.
that's what builds loyalty. And I know the bar that you work at, Riley's Daughter, is a very loyal bar. I mean, people that go there, feel like at times that they have like a bed in there. That's like those
Yeah,
are spots or home because they feel welcomed walking in.
for
And I
sure.
make jokes about it that like my whole family goes there and it's true, but like I love it. It's like it's a place where you walk in and you feel like you're part of a fun thing, and everyone goes there. Like everyone's welcome to go there
Yeah.
nowadays. And that's what makes it such a blast,
Yeah.
And I
right?
was going to say, Alan, I think you said it earlier, the bar where everyone knows your name. I grew up watching Cheers with my dad, of, watching him, Sam Malone bartend for how many years with Coach, with Norms,
Yeah.
even watching that show and just listening to, the silly jokes that Norm will make as he's walking in, or, the bartender will make as Norm's walking in, even picking up some of those and using just, some of those quotes as silly ones for some of the like older crowd that's coming in, they love it as well, just because, just another way to connect with them.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that's such a great show, by the way. Cheers, highly
Yeah.
underrated.
You know,
One of the best. One
Yeah.
I didn't watch it till recently, like 2 years ago. It's terrific. I had it on a plane. I had like a 4-hour flight, and I just threw on Cheers.
Binged it.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
it's an easy fun
Were
show.
you always at Riley's Daughter? Like when you started working at 16, were you working in the bar, or where were you working kind of service industry kind of stuff?
So when I started off in the service industry, like I said, I was a lifeguard at a country club. But being
Oh,
a
sure.
lifeguard at a country club, it was more of, I guess, like being a babysitter around the pool at a
Mhm.
country club, just because parents would always usually be on the patio, kind of hanging out
Sure.
with the other parents, and then would kind of leave the kids with us until 9 o'clock when the pool closed.
Yeah.
But I was working there at the time when I started working at Riley's, which was, like I said, like I've told before, kind of fell into my lap on accident. I
Mhm.
was it was May of my junior year of college, and I had just gotten home from college. I was at a Sox game on a Thursday, and was, scrolling my phone and Twitter, I think, because the Sox were, down by 100 runs or something. So
They were losing.
clearly wasn't any good baseball going on.
Right.
And a friend of mine I saw tweet out, who it was a guy I knew from like going to the bar from a couple of years ago. At the time I was 20 years old, so at the time I had met this guy, I was probably like 18 or 19. But when we had met each other, we didn't really share information. So he kind of thought I was older than him, or his age, or a year older than him, which was 22 or 23 at the time.
Hmm.
So I saw him tweet out, anyone of age want to make some money tonight, essentially, is what he said. And
Okay.
kind of looked at it, and I was, 20 years old, 3 years shy, or 3 months shy of being 21. And I was like, well, I'm not technically of age, but I am poor and would like to make some money tonight.
Right. I fit into one of those bars. Yeah.
Just
So,
check up.
so yeah, took a shot. I shot him a DM, and I said, hey, I'm interested. What's the job? And he said, bouncing at Riley's tonight. It's going to be $100 cash if you show up at 9. Show, working until 2 a.m. And I was like, sold. I'll show up. So I got home from the Sox game that day. I took the train home. So then when I got home, told my parents I was going up to bounce in the bar, which was, they were surprised because I tried getting a job previously at this bar the year before with mom's family friend that worked there, and couldn't get me in. It wasn't the right time, so kind of happenstance, just kind of lucked into it this time. But I showed up at the bar that night, 9 o'clock. Owner came out and met me. kind of worked that night. It wasn't really that crowded, so I ended up leaving at midnight that night. But owner took my number down, sent me on my way. Next Saturday, got another text message. Hey, do you want to come in and bounce tonight? When I showed up that night, owner went to the back, walks back forward and tosses me a t-shirt. And he's like, here, you can wear this. And then I like to say, that's the rest is history because I've been there ever since.
Yeah, you're official then.
That's awesome.
Once you get the t-shirt with the bar or the logo with the bar on it,
that helps.
You're there. You're
yeah. I will say I have bounced once at Miss Katie's Diner here in Milwaukee.
Really?
It was during finals week. And I obviously portray what you would assume a bouncer would,
because everybody else was like at the library or
correct. And they were
doing
I was studying and they were like, well, you don't have to drink because I didn't want to have any alcohol. Like I had to test the next morning. They're like, you don't have to, just come up with like, we need your help. I made $100 in about 2 hours. I let in everyone. It's like all my friends were here. So I was the worst bouncer in the world.
I was gonna say I can't imagine, no offense, can't imagine you as a bouncer the same way that I would not be a bouncer either.
Oh, correct. It was really funny. But Kev, do you ever run into like as I think about like how movies portray bouncers as just being, kind of jerks, like and just assuming that someone's trying to get people out. Like, do you run into that stereotype often, or like, and if you do, like, because you're not that, obviously, like we were talking about that before we got on here, like, you sort of defy that stereotype of being like the meathead that wants to just kick everyone out. Like, does that come up when you're there?
And for me personally, the one main stereotype is, I just don't have the energy to care that much. Like, I don't have the energy to be that meathead, hardo. But you're definitely right. Because you get movies like just the random movies, like you said, where bouncers are portrayed in that negative light as kind of, this serious, doesn't want anyone to have fun. So definitely a stereotype to where, a lot of the time it's just you definitely get that, but it's mainly from like the younger crowd where if you have younger people that are trying to come in, and maybe if you have a crowd where half the group is over 21, half the group's under 21, and deny the people that are clearly at fake IDs and aren't 21, you sometimes catch some gaff from the 21 or people that actually are 21 because I'm not the one, I'm not letting them in, I'm not doing my job by just letting them in with their fakes. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to protect the bar. It's no one's trying to ruin everyone's night. It's just the owner's got his business protect, and that's since you just have to kind of play the game and wait till you're 21 to actually come in the bar. Being angry at the bouncer because he's just trying to do his job.
Exactly.
I do have a question on fake IDs because I never had one. I don't know about you, Jim.
I did, but I didn't use it that. I used it probably like 8 or 10 times. So I didn't have it for like a long time. I had 2. One got taken really quickly.
And now, Jim, can I ask, was yours one you ordered, or was it someone that just kind of looked like you?
Yeah, someone that looked like me, a friend's older brother. That's the one I had. It didn't look. I mean, the guy was 26 when I was like 19, so it was a little off. But
yeah, you were very obviously 19.
Similar color hair, everything. Yeah.
Okay, so I used to drive Uber on the side too.
Yeah.
And I would drive Uber in the Marquette area, and people would come to me, like groups of kids would come to me with like fake IDs. And like there was one girl one time that literally gave me her fake ID and was like,
why would she give it to you?
Well, she was just asking me. They would ask me if I had a good one.
I'm thinking you're carding them.
Sorry. No. I'm not carding people to get in an Uber.
Why would you do that?
I probably should.
What a weird Uber.
No. 0 stars.
Yeah. Right.
But no, this girl gives me a fake ID and she's like, I think I have a good one. And her hair was brown.
Yeah.
And the girl in the ID was blonde.
Oh gosh.
And I pointed that out to her. I was like, wait. She said, I'm just gonna tell the bouncer that I went through a breakup and that I dyed my hair. And I was like, you don't get a second question.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, exactly. But I would have this all the time where people actually they would ask the Uber driver to judge their fake IDs, and as somebody that never knew,
right?
I would just be, oh yeah, you got a good one.
Were most of them pretty bad? Like when you were judging?
50? Some it was like 50-50. Some would be good, some would be really bad. What is the first thing you look for when you have a clearly fake ID?
Yeah.
So this is and I've been very fortunate because I've luckily with the Illinois licenses, the fake Illinois licenses that they do order, the majority of kids majority ones that they order now are, usually from some sort of website called like ID God or some sort of variation of that where you're ordering it from China and it's getting sent over, printed over there.
Yeah.
But luckily, so probably about, I would say 4 years ago, I'd start to realize, because it was pretty much, every kid in the neighborhood I knew was getting that's where they're getting their IDs from. And started to notice, as like these fake IDs kept coming in, that and one little hidden trick that bouncers use definitely to tell, at least for Illinois licenses. I'm not sure how it works at other states, but
Yeah.
there's a license, or there's a number. I believe, I'm not sure if it's not your driver's license number, but it's the number at the bottom of your Illinois driver's license, and it's long, a lot of numbers, and essentially in between all of the numbers there are two letters. And what those two letters are the initials for the DMV that you got your license at.
Oh,
So
Oh,
personally, for me, I got my most recent license in Pekin, Illinois, which is a town in central Illinois that I lived in previously for about a year and a half.
yeah.
So initials would be PK, but the other towns around us, like Orland Park, Illinois, Midlothian, Illinois, you'd have OP or MN for the initials. So once I figured that out, I realized I can kind of start, gauging. Let's see what the fake or initials, the fake IDs say, and then start to, kind of gauge and see what happened from there. And kind of I found it out by accident, because a cop had walked in and kind of showed me that trick when we were shooting one night. So very fortunate of that guy to kind of give me that, because it made my job so much easier. And when I started, seeing the fake IDs that were coming in, is they had the same two initials there, LD. So once I kind of figured that out, any fake or any ID that I would see come in, that was kind of to be the first thing I look for. See if it says LD there. If it does, I don't know it's fake for sure, but I have an inkling that there's a good opportunity that it could be fake. And usually, so when I see that, I'll just bring it up to them, and I say, do you know this is fake? And usually, if you ask them that question, you can kind of see their eyes light up to be like,
right. They know what's coming.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're like, all right, this, this is fake. He just got to go, because you're scared. Or it's like very confused, and it's just like, wait, I actually am 21. And then it's just like, all right, well, I look stupid, I guess, for once, but I'm happy to look stupid, wrongly accusing someone of being underage if they actually.
For sure.
That's okay. That's a really good trick.
Yeah, it's a neat little trick that saved me forever. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I know the Wisconsin ones have your birth date in the numbers, but
mine doesn't.
Do you have a Wisconsin license?
Yeah.
It has your birth date in, like, not lined up perfectly, but all the numbers are in there.
Like my license number has the birth date in it?
Yes, I believe so.
I should
has your birth date in
Interesting.
it.
Okay.
So we'll look later.
There's a similar thing for Illinois driver's license. In your driver's license number, your birth year is
or maybe it's a birth year. Yeah, something like that is
yeah. There you go.
There.
Now, what's and I'm asking this one because I think I know the answer after you and I talked a little bit, Kev. But like, what's like the wildest like thing that you've experienced, like in terms of like story of someone trying to get in, or like a large group trying to get in? And I think you know which direction I'm going with this, but I think it involves a bus, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure. So I've actually got two stories. So I've got that one, which I'll tell here in a minute. But when you'd asked that question, when we talked offline, there was one story that I definitely still remembered. I would say it was my first or second year bouncing, and it was a Friday night, probably around St. Patty's, or within a couple of weeks of St. Patty's Day, but maybe not actual St. Patty's Day weekend. And I had been scheduled to work by myself on a Friday night, and I saw that there's this band that was a local neighborhood band that had been scheduled to play that night, called Sean and Charlie. And I wasn't familiar, super familiar with the time, because I just started working there. Hadn't seen that band play, and I knew they were an Irish band and there was Irish music, but I guess I didn't know the magnitude of the crowd it would bring out. So I walk into work on 8 o'clock on that Friday night, and the band's starting at 9, and you cannot move a muscle as you're walking in there. It's shoulder to shoulder. Everyone's there ready to see the band, and when the band starts, the place is up for grabs. You can't really move shoulder to shoulder like it'd be for a St. Patty's Day, but on Friday night. And one of the nice or niche things that this band does is, for a couple of the songs, because of the shape of the bar that we have, they end up grabbing a couple bottles of Jameson, two of the singers, and getting on top of the bar, and they're running up and down the bar with Jameson in their hands, pouring shots up and down the lines of bartenders and waitresses behind the bar, and all the patrons that are sitting on the seats. And you've got customers that are standing on chairs, dancing on chairs. People are dancing on the bar. This is at like 10:30 p.m. that this is all going down. And I just remember sitting at the front door looking at the whole place, and I was like, you know what? I have no control here, and that's okay. I
That's
have
gonna be all
no
right.
control of the situation. We're just gonna let this play out and see what happens. But
I love it.
there's not
You
much
make
I
a
can do
business.
right now.
Yeah, like you gotta just let that one go. Like, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
Everyone can
I
have a good time. It's just hopefully no one gets hurt at the end of the day. But I can't move that much, so there's not much I can do.
Yeah, that's right.
I totally had a rapper in Milwaukee get on a bar and start rapping because we have wireless microphones that I bring.
Sure. Yeah.
And but it was not shoulder to shoulder crowd at all. And the bartender or the bouncer was like, there's a security camera right there, and like was like motioning for this guy to come down.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah, and he's like, you got to get off the bar. Like, this is an insurance thing.
Yeah.
And the guy like kind of gave him like a look, like, what are you gonna do about it? Immediately after his set, the guy ran up to, well, the bouncer brought me downstairs to the where he was, to the door, and then he brought the rapper downstairs. And as soon as the rapper got there, he was like, I gotta go, right? I'm kicked out. And we were like, yeah,
Yeah,
you are. You
Pretty much.
very much kicked out. Yeah. So
At least for tonight. At least for tonight. Come back tomorrow.
yeah, sure.
That's because Riley's is such a neighborhood bar. The majority, I would say, the people that we do have to kick out, if one person does get too drunk, I would say, as long as you didn't do anything terrible, you're not getting into a major fight, or obviously not assaulting anybody, but most of the time it's just, if you're too drunk one night, it's always, hey, kicked out for the night, come back tomorrow. If you want to apologize tomorrow, that's fine.
You're welcome to
apologize tomorrow, but either way, you're done.
It's a little responsibility.
Done for the night, and go home, get some sleep it off, and come we'll talk about it tomorrow.
That's so Midwest nice.
It is.
To be like, you're kicked out of the bar.
You got to go. Yeah.
Tomorrow you can come back here and you can apologize to us, and then we'll come back.
All right. The second story, Kevin, and I'm going to ask you another question after that.
Of course.
I love this one.
Yeah. Second story, like I said, which I shared details of it previously a little bit, but second one was probably about 4 years ago, about almost to the week right now, because we're approaching one of the busier holidays of the year, which is Black Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Which outside of St. Patty's Day, it is probably, like I said, our second busiest night of the year, or busiest night of the year. So it was about 4 years ago, and I had been there, bouncing there for a while. So I had a pretty good feel for, who's going to be coming in, kind of how the operation works. It was always very crowded, but at the end of the night, like we usually most of the time got through it. So a couple days beforehand, I was talking to my mom, and she had been talking to one of her friends, saying that there was a bunch of seniors in high school and like freshmen in college from this other local Catholic school, Providence, out in New Lenox, which is probably like 30 minutes south of us on the south side of Chicago. It's south suburb. And she told me that there was a group of these kids planning to take this bus trip to Riley's for Black Wednesday to come out. And, I'd known they were, 18, 19. So I told the owner about it, and was, we were all kind of expecting, watching out for bus to be coming through, so we could just plan to kind of, ID the kids right as they got off the bus. And, as they got off the bus, we would pretty much send them right back on, because we weren't going to be letting them any of them in, is what we thought. That was the good game plan that we had, waiting for this bus. But so Black Wednesday comes, and it's probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock goes by, and plenty of people are coming in, plenty of kids are coming in, and everyone has IDs. We have the scanning, or ID scanning machine, so we're able to scan everybody. We're taking care of everybody, and essentially what happens is, by 10:30, 11 o'clock, the bar is pretty much packed. We got line outside, and we'd still not seen this bus. So we're like, what is going on? Like, where are this bus of kids that we keep hearing about? And we've been hearing about all week, because other people had heard about it at this point. So towards the end of the night, so 1:30 a.m. We're starting to kick everyone out of the bar. When we kick everyone out, we share a large large parking lot with a couple other small businesses on the south side of Chicago. So we have a massive parking lot outside. So usually when we kind of kick everyone out, we'll usually have call bouncers stand out there to make sure, wait for everyone to get in their Ubers, kind of make sure no one gets in fights outside. So essentially what happened was, everyone was outside after we closed the bar. I was waiting outside, kind of monitoring for everybody. And I'd overhear this kid go, "What time's the bus coming?" And I was, and I turned to the kid and I was like, "What do you mean bus?" And I was like, "Where are you guys going back out to?" And he was like, "We're taking a bus back out to New Lenox." And I'm like, you little clowns are the ones we've been waiting for all night. And what it realized that happened was they had all taken Ubers in separately, and one in on one or two, groups of one or two by themselves. And at the end of the night, had a group of 40 kids outside the bar that were waiting to take a bus back to New Lenox.
They duped them.
So we kind of got bamboozled there to where
yeah, that was brilliant. I
they
was
kind
like,
of came in
Well,
separately.
that or they could have gotten dropped off like a block away or something.
right, but like they all took Ubers, and then a big bus came and grabbed them at one time.
Oh my
I
God.
thought that was hysterical.
So essentially, so the end of that story is
Yeah.
that's everyone's outside, everyone's at the end of the night. These these kids from the suburbs from New Lenox, a little background from Chicago, kids from the neighborhood in Chicago and kids from the suburbs. Generally, when you're younger and you're not as open to the world, I guess, or you're not exposed to the world, you still have that bitter rivalry of suburb versus city kids. So naturally, a fight had broken out between probably, I think, 10 or 15 kids from the neighborhood, and then 20 of these guys from New Lenox. And there's brawls happen all over the parking lot at this point, about like 1:45 a.m. So I see I see two kids on the ground fighting. I run up to them. I'm trying to pull one kid off the other kid from craving his skull in, caking his skull in. And as that's happening, so one of his friends comes up behind me and kicks me right in the back of the knee. So I go down like a sack of potatoes on top of these two guys that I'm trying to break up from fighting.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm laying on the ground and I'm like, oh God, I got two homicides right under me right now. I just crushed both of these guys. So, but luckily they had gotten up. I was just, obviously being a little more self-conscious than I should have been. And then I turn around and this kid, his nose is like sideways from getting hit in the face, and everyone's separated. And at that point, I'm just fuming about the bus because the bus pulls right up as that's all happening.
Of course, yeah.
And so all the
ready to go home.
Girls are screaming at me for breaking up fights, for throwing people, and I'm just like, everyone get on the bus.
Please don't be here.
Home. You don't have to go home, but you cannot stay on this bus.
Yeah, that's it. We're done. We're done.
Oh my God.
That was a little chaotic. That was a good taste of the bouncing life.
That's wild.
How often do you actually have to break up a fight?
I would say since that time, and that was probably about, like I said, 4 to 5 years ago, I've probably broken up a total of 4 fights over those 4
years. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, part of it is anyway, I would say part of it is on the establishment, the neighborhood. I'm sure
a lot of people know each other,
but when you're at a close-knit bar like that, I'm sure everybody knows everybody, and I'm not fighting Phil tonight because whatever. Yeah. You all knew.
What I've noticed a lot of the time is just with the 21, 22, 23-year-olds that are coming in. A lot of the times I've already, met their brother, older brother, or cousin or something. So a lot of friend groups that come in, there's usually a 1 or 2 step connection I can make with at least one of the people. So it's always pretty nice, or it's always nice because, if people walk in, I'm always just like, hey, best behavior tonight, and kind of, give them the head nod. And everyone usually, at least when I've been bouncing, I've been fortunate enough to where everyone kind of, understands, there's no reason to get into fights because I don't want to deal with it. So why let it happen?
Yeah, that's awesome. So Kev, as we start to round this out, I know a little bit what you shared before is, that you've really found like a family at Riley's and where you're at. I think that's so cool. And I think a lot of people just like think of, bouncers or bartenders as like, this is just something that they have to do. But in your case, you've really found connections there, right? And talk a little bit about that, of like what that's meant to you. And I know you've been there for a couple of years now. Like how is that? What is that vibe like as you're there with all your coworkers?
Sure. I would say it's like you had said, it's just been nothing short of a second family to have. When I started working there, I had known your cousin Patrick, obviously, because we had went to graduate high school together. But definitely had not been as close to him since graduating high school. So that was one of the first relationship. When I started working there, that was the first relationship that kind of fostered and grew right away, because we'd gone to high school together, but I had been in college for a couple of years, really hadn't talked. So we kind of got to pick up being good friends right away, and eventually, became best friends over time. To where I would going to his wedding, and that's not just that's one example of the positive relationships that you built there. Just because working there, I'd say this upcoming May will be my 7-year anniversary there. But working there for 6 years, if you're working 1 or 2 nights every weekend, you're spending a lot of time with the people that you are working with. And me, when I was, I'd say like 3 or 4 years ago, I was bouncing the Sunday night shift for about a year and a half straight. And having a consistent shift like that, I ended up getting to, meet or not meet, but work with one of my good friend, Brendan. And, over that year and a half, we got to pretty much work every other Sunday night together along with our other friend, Corey, who was barbacking at the time. And it was just so nice because you kind of had a guaranteed night to go hang out with your friends, but you all got paid to go do it. And you're all making good money doing it, and you're all hanging out and having fun. And, it doesn't feel real. Because at that point we worked, like I said, for every other Sunday for about a year and a half straight. And on Sundays we had it down to a routine of when we would play 18 holes of golden tee right before our shift started. We would play 18 holes of golden tee at some point during our shift, and then would play another 18 holes of golden tee after our shift ended. So we were rocking, probably I'd say 54 holes of golden tee every other Sunday for
there we go.
Half straight, and dumped I would say more than like $500 into that machine, but well worth it for the good amount of times.
That's
but
how it should be. That's excellent. That's
just one quick example, at least how you get to build that relationship. And like I said, over the 7 years there, I've met hundreds of people, whether it be not just employees there, but through the working there, and have really become ingrained in the neighborhood, and meet everyone from the neighborhood. And even if you meet someone new, you still are able to probably rattle off 2 or 3 names, and then within saying 2 or 3 names, you can usually find a pretty good easy connection with you guys.
Yeah, that's for excellent. Sure. It's literally where everyone knows your name.
That's how it should be.
And that's great. I think maybe one more question before we head out. And what is if I say just off the top of my head, what's the best night you've had at the bar? Either like best experience, whether it's working there or just happen to be hanging out there. Like, what's like the one night where you're like, that was the most fun night at Riley's?
I would say, and this, the owner wouldn't want to say let this out, but sometimes they're working their later night or working there late night. After usually we get cleaned up, we always do. Usually we'll hang out, we'll have a few drinks depending on
a little after bar,
how late the night is. What kind of mood the owner is in, if he wants to kind of hang out and stay out late. But I would say not just one night, but all the best nights are when unfortunately you have a way too late of a night there. You might be walking out of there at 6:30 or 7 a.m. the next morning. Sure. All you're doing is walking out with your 5 best friends because you just you work 6 hours, and then you don't really get to have your night out. Our night out is that 2 to 3 hours after the bar closes, where we get to actually hang out, regroup, gossip, talk about stuff that happened throughout the night. So all the best nights are just the nights that we get to hang out there late night. And you might have one of those one too many late or little too bit late at nights, where you have to walk next door and get a breakfast skillet at the
I like it
store at 7 a.m. But those nights where you just get to create those memories and create those bonds where you really get to know each other and become close with each other.
That's excellent. I have had the distinct privilege of staying for an after bar a couple times.
Yes, I've done that before. It's great.
It is a like an unspoken thing. You know what I mean? Like you're like, we can't tell anyone we're here, but we're going to hang out.
And it's also very cool.
Feels good.
You feel just like exclusive.
You feel wanted.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. The bar is Riley's Daughter in Chicago, South Side.
I'll be there in a couple weeks, around Thanksgiving. I'll probably be there around Christmas, and Kev will be there way more times than I will.
I would say, is that your Blackout Wednesday bar that you go to?
I won't even be home on Black Wednesday this time around, but I'll be back around for like a couple days around Christmas.
There you go.
It'll be good. We'll make it work.
We'll be excited to see you and have you back.
That's right, man. I'll be back. Well, thank you, Kev, for joining. We appreciate it. And
thank you, Jim. Thank you, on. And then Jim, I want to congratulate you last night on how I saw it was your 100th keynotes speech last night.
Oh yeah,
man. I asked you how that went.
It was awesome. It was a snowball retreat here in Wisconsin for Glenmark North High School, who I've worked with now for years. And great group, about 100 students, and talked for an hour and had a blast. But yeah, man, 100, and here's the next 100. So I'm excited for it.
And we are near 100.
We are almost at 100. I know.
We're working on our way towards 100.
We're almost complimentary of each other. It's great. Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it. That was a lot of fun.
So, so thank you all for listening to the Hustling Sideways podcast as well, and watching us. We are wherever you get your podcasts. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We are on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, TikTok, all of those things. And if you want to be a guest on the show, send us an email. It's hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
keep on hustling.
We will see you next week.
Peace.